So this evening was the Family Technology 201 series. Last night we did the 100 series, which is a little bit of an overview of using an iPad and using a Chromebook. We'll touch on those lightly, and then we will talk a little bit more about Canvas, logging in, a little bit of troubleshooting, and also the Parent Observer account. Sorry, trying to, hey, Thor, as a quick aside, Vilma's needing a link to join our panelist. So good evening again. My name is Susan Bernard. I'm the IT director with Tigard-Tualatin School District. With me, I've got Jarvis Gomez, who is the principal at Deer Creek Elementary School. I've got Sonia Lule, who is the instructional technology coach over at Templeton Elementary School and CFT Elementary School. Thor Kuhn, who is a technician at Tualatin High School and helps with all these wonderful Zoom meetings that we host. And then we've got Africa, who is doing some interpretation for us. And we will also shortly have Vilma Madrigal, who will be joining us to do some of the interpretation for us later this evening. So thank you, panelists, for being with us this evening. Again, they'll help answer the questions that come in through the Q&As and also help with some of the live Q&A at the end. Next slide, please. So what are we going to cover in this 200 series course? Tonight, we're going to talk about student accounts, again, just to make sure that you have the accounts for your student handy and you understand how that works. We're going to talk about Canvas and a few other apps. We're also going to touch on access to Canvas for parents and then where to get help, just in case you need some help during the day. And then at the end, we'll have a question and answer session where you can post your question and we will do our very best to answer that live. Next slide, please. All right, let's talk a little bit about student accounts. Next slide. So all the students in our district, when they register from kindergarten through 12th grade, will be issued a Tigard-Tualatin student login. That student login will be used to log into a variety of the online digital tools that we use, as well as provides them with a TTSD Google account. We use Google Apps for education with our school district, and with that comes a series of productivity tools, as well as other resources, including email. So the structure of our student accounts begins with the student's graduation year. And so this example student graduates in the year 2032. Last name of the student is Bernard, and the first name of the student begins with an S. So her email address is 32bernards@ttsdstudents.org. So everybody in the same grade has the same number at the beginning. So students that are graduating this year, so seniors, would be 21, and I believe 32 might be a first grader. 28, I believe, is a fifth grader. So you might have to do a little bit of math to figure out what your graduation year is for your student, but that's what that first number indicates. And then also there's a pattern for the student's password when we pass those out to students, and it's the capital first initial. So it'll be a capital S in this example. And then it's their student ID number, and that's a 6-digit number. So let's just pretend it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it would be a capital S, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it's a lowercase b for their last name, last initial. So because the last name on this example is Bernard, there's a little b at the end. So again, just to walk through that, the password pattern is capital first initial S, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is the student's ID number, and then a lowercase b for their last name initial. That ID number is something that you can find off an old report card that you might have from last year. You can also find the student ID number in Parent View if you have a login to that. And you're also able to just call the school office, or you can call the IT help desk, and we can look that number up after verifying the caller and just make sure we're giving you the right information and can get you that password so your kiddo can log in. Hopefully after day 2, you are starting to get this type of information written down and handy for when your students sit down to attend online school, and that's old news for you now. But if not, make sure if the kids go off to grandma's or daycare that they have this information with them in case they're really little and somebody might need to help them log in. Great, next slide, please. And then just a note, we require any of the vendors that we work with where we send student information to, we require them to sign a data confidentiality agreement with the school district. And so that ensures that there's a legal document protecting student data that we share with them so that we can use resources such as Google or Canvas or any of those types of resources. If you want to see a full list of who we have a contact with, or excuse me, a contract with, you can go to our digital resource menu, and the link is there at the bottom of the screen. It's menu.clever.com and then /TTSD. So just want to make a note that we are being very careful with student data and we take it seriously. Next slide, please. Let's talk a little bit about Canvas and other apps. So whether you're using Google Drive or Canvas, or you need to log into the TTSD web filter, the students are still going to use that same student account that we talked about just a moment ago. In our example before, it was 32 Bernard S. If it's a Google login, they're going to put the entire email, so at @TTSDstudents with an S there, .org. And if it's Google Drive or the TTSD web filter, they can just log in with their 32 Bernard S. So when in doubt, you can put the full email address. If it asks for their Google login, you definitely want to put their full email address. And again, when in doubt, that's the account that we try to use everywhere with every account that we're using or every different system. So that would be the first try, the first attempt to try it to use the main student account login. All right, next slide, please. All right, access for parents. I wonder for a moment, sorry to throw us off just a little bit. I think before we go into access for parents, I'd like to do a quick demo of what it looks like on a student's iPad so that you can see what the login looks like. And then we'll just do a quick overview of Canvas before we look at what this looks like from a parent's perspective. Let me see if I can join this on my iPad where I was just connected. Hang on just a second. So all right, sorry about that. I must have gotten dropped off. Thor, can you hear me okay, and everyone?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. So let's see, I was trying to share my screen and I dropped off on my computer. How, can you tell me, Sonia, what you're seeing right now, if you wouldn't mind, please?
I see the slide access for parents.
Okay, thank you. Let me try to share my screen here so we can see the iPad. And There we go. Sonia, would you help me out again? And are you seeing my iPad desktop?
Yes, now I see your iPad.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So it looks like I am just on my iPad at this point. What I want to show you is where kids K through 8 are all on iPads. And again, unfortunately, we had some issues with our internet filter yesterday and today in the mornings. And so that has been finally resolved, and we should be back in business tomorrow. Kids were able to join. Then after a few minutes, maybe 30 minutes, they would get dropped off and wouldn't be able to rejoin. Again, that's something on our side. It was a custody of our systems, and that should fix now. And so if you had that symptom today, that wasn't anything with your iPad or with your internet traffic, and it should be resolved beginning tomorrow. So thank you for your patience as we all try to figure out how this is going to work for everybody. The very first thing that you do as a K through 8 parent or student, and even high school as well, just trying to say in brick and mortar, is what should students do in the morning to get ready for school? So just like getting ready for going to the regular school, brick and mortar school, kids get ready, they get in the morning, they get ready to leave the house, they arrive at school a little bit early so that when class starts, say at 9, they're not being dropped off at the door. They're actually already at the school, maybe sitting in the cafeteria 15 minutes early or so, and then they're released to their classroom. So what we're trying to encourage, just to try to set up some routines at home, is to do something similar with the student device in our online school. So step 1 in the mornings is just to make sure your device is charged. Step 2 is to make sure you're connected to your home Wi-Fi, which for me and for others on iPads will be up in the top right corner. You can tell the Wi-Fi symbols there. Step 3 would be to go and find your internet filter. And what you might want to do is tap and hold on that. And, oops, pardon me, and drag it down to your dock. So it's right there every day down at the bottom. Tap on that. What you're looking for is you have logged in successfully to the web filter. It'll either show you this page or it'll ask you to log in. And then the last step after clicking the home button is we're going to try and find the student app. So this is the student Canvas app right here. It's a white icon with a bit of a red flower. And you could do the same thing. You could, oops, get that down onto your taskbar as well. I've turned on some accessibility this evening and haven't figured out how to get things moved around, pardon me. And so now Canvas is also on my dock down here. So easy access. So I'm going to tap on Canvas and it will launch the courses that I am registered for. This is just a sample account. If you're in elementary school, you'll probably see at least one card right in homeroom. In that homeroom class, you find the Meet for Google Hangouts right on the home page. This example doesn't have a Meet link, but it would be a matter of tapping on the first page, and then you would find the home page on the right-hand side. And as the days go by, you'll see additional cards there for K through 5. You'll see a homeroom, you'll soon see a math, a reading, a science, a social studies, music, and PE. As we start introducing specials and we start doing some additional content introduction, each of those cards serves sort of like a textbook. So when you're doing math, you'll go into the math textbook, and when you're doing reading, you'll reading textbook. And teachers will walk kids through that. They also might try to make it a whole lot easier for the little kids and just have a homeroom class that they launch their at school. You've got a 12-period week. And they did that so that when the metrics allow and we're allowed to come back into school, the kids will already be put in cohorts of small groups. So they had to build their schedule with that in mind. And in doing so, it made scheduling a little bit more complicated. But with that, hopefully you've already heard from your middle school, if you have a middle school student, about 1 through 3 is on the first day, 4, 5, and 6 is on the second day on Tuesday. And then, so there's 3 periods a day. So 10, 11, 12 will be on Friday, and then 7, 8, 9 will be on Thursday. So to find the best way to figure out which day you should attend or which class you should attend each day, we've been using the calendar. And you would tap on the day of the week, and down below, it would show you at 9 o'clock, you would have morning meeting. At 10:15, you might have language arts. And at 12:45, you might have social studies. As you see where you should be at that time, you'll click back onto dashboard and you will find the corresponding card like morning meeting, and you would tap on morning meeting, and then you would tap on Google Meet and you would join your class. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of kind of how do you start the day on your iPad. Ideally, just like you don't want to drop the kiddos at school off right at 9, if the bell rings at 9, you want to have your iPad out probably about 15 minutes before the first meeting time. And then I would suggest that you try to join that Google Meet 5 minutes early, just so at the time that school starts, your child's already in class, the teacher's already allowed them in, and they've had a chance just to kind of get settled and there's no angst. All right, Thor, I'm going to ask if you would to go back and present again. I am going to try to join again from this other computer and take us back to where we were. Sorry about that. There we go. Can you hear me okay? All right.
Yes, I
Let's
can
take
hear
a look
you. Yep.
what it will look like for parents. So go ahead and hit the next slide, Thor, if you would. So Canvas, there's a login for students, there's a login for teachers, and there's also a login for parents. So if you go to the ttsd.instructure.com website, you'll be presented with a website that says login as a teacher, login as a student, or login as a parent. And as a parent, you are all provided observer accounts, similar in a way to the parent view account, where you'll log in with a single account and you'll have access to all of your students. So by clicking the login as a parent, we'll walk through what the steps are to get your account activated here in a moment. Next slide, please. Just a quick overview of the difference. We will be using Canvas observer accounts or parent accounts in Canvas, as well as parent view accounts. And I want to take a moment just to explain the difference. Canvas is the place where, as a parent, I would go to look at daily assignments, progress grades, like how children are doing in secondary school on their marks or their assignments, feedback that they may have gotten from their teacher. It's where I can go to access teacher communication. And it's also the place for just online classroom. So kind of the equivalent of being in school. Opening up Canvas is the equivalent of walking into the school. So Canvas is where things are happening every day. And it's the place that all students should start. They should go to Canvas and they should go into their dashboard to kind of get situated so they can figure out what their first period is or their first activity for the day. Parent view, on the other hand, is more of a window into our student information system. And it's our official place for recording data about students. So it's all the demographic data for students. It's where we'll take attendance for students, because we are required this fall as we return to take attendance. And it's where final grades will go. So Canvas is the place to go and look for your child's progress report grades or how they're doing day to day. But at the end of the first quarter or at the end of the first semester, you'll be able to see those final grades in parent view. State test scores are also available in parent view as well. And it's where you can go and update cell phone information and other data about you or your family. All right, next slide, please. So just a quick stop. If you need to contact anybody at your child's school, we wanted to make sure and make it easy that the phone number is available for you. So this might be a good slide to take a picture of with your phone or do a screen capture of if you don't have that phone number handy. Reasons you might need to call your child's school is if you need some help with the login information, you need their password, the child's password. If for some reason you can't find the teacher's Google Meet, that would be another good reason to give the school a call. They'll have a much better idea of what the teacher's layout of their homepage looks like and how to help you get to that classroom meet. Most of the main offices have a list of all the links that they can send you. The other thing that this main office can help you with is your parent view account or your Canvas account if you don't know the account itself. And I'll walk you through how to find out if you, by using your email, to find out how to log in with a Canvas account so you don't even have to call the school. So again, just a quick resource for you to have for the phone numbers for our schools. Next slide, please. All right, so the website that we showed, and maybe Thor, if you wouldn't mind punching that out to folks or one of our panelists, is ttsd.instructure.com, and we'll get that sent out to you so you have it handy. That is the website that you can go to on any browser on a computer. There is a Canvas parent app you can download from either the App Store or the Android Store, the Google Store, and you can log in to Canvas as your parent account through either the mobile device, or you can go through a website. These screenshots are going to be more from a website if you're using a browser. So you'd click on I'm a parent, and next slide, please. And then the very first time that you go to this website, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to say forgot password. Your account is already set up. We just need you to initiate the first login and to get a new password established, and then you'll be able to log in. So go ahead and hit the next slide, please, if you would, Thor. When you get to the I forgot my password page, you're going to put your parent view account in if you know it, or you can put your full email address in for the email address you gave the school district. And then you're going to go ahead and say request password. It'll give you that green box at the top, and it says your password recovery instructions will be sent to, and it'll either put the parent view account information there, or it'll put your full email. And it says it'll take up to 30 minutes, but I haven't seen it take more than 5, maybe 10 minutes. So if you're upwards of 25, 30 minutes, you might try coming back. The other thing that we've seen is some families have multiple email addresses. You have personal email addresses, or you might have a family email address. This email address needs to match one of the emails that you've provided to the school district. So if you've got a new email address, that probably wouldn't work here unless you'd already connected with your office. And again, that would be why you would need that phone number, is to connect with the office and make sure that the email address you're using here is the same one that they have. All right, next slide, please. So you get this email into your inbox. It says, hey, you've requested a password reset. It asks you to click on a link. You click the link, and very similar to many other sites, you would go and set your new password, whatever that might be, put it in there twice, hit save, and then you can return to the, actually go back 2 slides if you would, Thor. Could head back to the, actually 2 more. Yep, 1 more. Head back to the TTSD instructor site. There you go, where you'll land on this page again. 1 more forward. And you're going to click on I'm a parent. 1 more forward if you would, please. There you go. You'll click on I'm a parent. Thank you. Then you're going to enter your parent view account or the email, whatever was in the I forgot my email that you received, the password you just set, and then you would hit login. And then 2 slides forward too, if you would, Thor. Once you get in, you'll get a default message that says, hey, we'd like you to set your notifications. This is one of the things that's come up quite a bit recently as parents are getting in and using their Observer account. There are a lot of notification settings. My suggestion for you is to click notification preferences and turn most of them off. You can get push notifications to your cell phone. You can get email notifications as well. And while some notifications are really helpful, like maybe something is coming due, you probably do not need to have each and every notification that is available. I think there's likely 20 different options in there. So I would start pretty minimally and turn all of it off except for 1 or 2. That seems like the most important. Save it. And then you can always come back and access it again and turn some more things on if you want. But the notification preferences is underneath the account button, which is in the top left corner there. All right, next slide, please. So this is just showing once you get in, if you do set your notifications and you want to come back in a little bit later, you would click on the account icon with the little head in the top left corner. And one of the first items, or the first item underneath that drop-down menu, is notifications. And when you go in there, you'll see the 20 different options again you have, and they're just green buttons. turning on what choices you want. You can either turn it on, turn it off. You have choices of a daily summary or a weekly summary, about every option you may want. All right, next slide, please. Also underneath the account, oh yeah, actually hit back just for a second, Thor, if you would, please. Also underneath that account settings button in the top left corner, the little picture of your head, there are a variety of different options on here. Profiles, where you can go and set your name and you can set a picture. Settings, the fourth one down, is where we're about to go next. It's got some really important choices in there that I want to make sure you know are hidden underneath the account, and then settings. So next slide, please. Once you get to settings, you'll have a couple, three things that I think are going to be important to set. One, you can set your pronouns, so you can pick your he, she pronouns, but also importantly, you can pick your language. The default language on the system is English, but if you would like to have Marshallese or you'd like to have Spanish, you can change that in this drop-down menu. And what that is changing is it's changing the framework and a lot of the prompts within Canvas. It will not change the content that your student sees through the equivalent of the online textbook, but the menu items on the left, the display settings that we're looking at right here would all be translated to the language that you might choose. And then here also is if you want to change your password again, that's under settings and then change password. Then when you are done making your changes here, you'll click update settings and it will take you back to the main dashboard. So if we hit one more slide, there you go. So this is what Canvas calls the dashboard. It looks very similar to what you saw on the iPad with the students. What would be a little different for the parents is that you're going to likely, if you have more than one student, you'll have a few more cards, probably twice as many cards as what you saw individually with the student. And what isn't depicted on this screen right here, but underneath, so we've got demo chemistry on that red card with a D4745. Just underneath that, it would say observing for, and then you would have your child's name. So in our family, we've got a Grant and a Megan. So chemistry might say observing for Megan, biology might be observing for Megan, demo Hope might be observing for Grant. So you can look at the cards on the page and you can figure out which course goes to which student. You can also drag these cards around if you want all your kids, all the courses for Megan in one spot and all the courses for Grant in another spot. You also can, with the three dots, you can give each card a nickname. So you can actually put right on the card, this is first period for Megan, and the next one, this is second period for Megan, and you can arrange them as such. The nicknames, as they're called under those three dots, is just to help the user, whether it's the parent or the student, identify the course a little bit more easily. And then just a quick overview of what you see here. Top left corner, again, is that account icon where you can go and change your notifications and where you can set your preferences for language and maybe reset your password. The inbox on that navigation bar on the left is a place where you can communicate with your teacher. What's nice about the inbox in Canvas is that it will automatically help the student identify who their teacher is, and it will just put that teacher right in. You can certainly use email as well, but if you use the Canvas inbox, it actually prompts you. So it has two, and then it says, are you trying to send it to your teacher? You choose teacher, and then it actually will show you what your teacher's name is. And so there's not a whole lot of trying to remember your teacher's email address. The middle part is always the published courses or the courses that the kids are working with. And in the far right column is a to-do column, and that's usually what is coming up for the students. And it could also be some assignments that might be past due. So the ever popular family dinner conversation about what do you have to do tonight? This is one place that you might be able to look before you sit down for dinner to find out what is coming due, so you can have a really in-depth conversation about their exam module part 2, or maybe they have a basic constructions project coming up that you can refer to. You can also click into those assignments and get a little bit more information to help your child. So that's kind of a basic overview of what the parent interface looks like. Let's go ahead and hit next. And then I just want to touch base on where you can go during the day or even in the evenings on the websites to get some help. We have a familyhelp.ttsdschools.org website that's available 24/7. We're continuing to put articles up there like, how do I log into the filter? How do I get my parent observer account set up? Why I haven't put this one yet, but we probably should put, why do I keep getting kicked out of Google Meet? So I'll put that up there this evening, and hopefully it's the last time we hear about that. The other choice you have is between 8 and 4, 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. You can call the Technology Help Desk, 503-431-4051. And you'll be prompted early on if you'd like to have somebody, if you'd like to hear the message in Spanish or if you'd like to hear it in English. Upon pressing, I think it's 1, you can have somebody answer and help you in Spanish if that's a language that you're more comfortable in. Otherwise, you can stay on the line and press 2, I believe it is. Actually, I don't think it's 2, I think it's 3, or just stay on the line and you'll get somebody to help you in English. They can help you with password problems. They can help you log in. They can help you with your parent account, filter, lots of just how do I even just get into Canvas, those types of questions. And then additionally, these recordings that we've been doing before school, as well as this summer, getting ready for school, and all your school principal hosted meetings that they've done for families are all hosted on the youtube.ttsdschools.org website. So you're welcome to go back there and take a look at some of the previous videos that we've had for folks. All right, next slide, please. Great. We are now at the question and answer time. Let's see what we've got going on in the questions for a moment. It looks like we've already had some of our panelists answer some of those questions, and Jarvis and Vilma and Sonia, if you've got any, if you'd like to unmute, and if there's some questions that either you weren't able to answer that I can help you with, or if there's some that you think might be good questions and answers that other people might have, that would be great if you could offer a couple up as I go through as well.
Sure. A big question comes up about following, tracking student assignments and making sure that they're completing all of that's required of them, saying that sometimes the calendar isn't totally representative of what the students are expected to be doing.
Okay, and so the question in that, I think there's 2 places if I'm a parent or even a student trying to determine what is it I should be doing. I would say the to-do list is the first place that I would go. That to-do list is a nice, there's more space there to see all the things that are coming up. It also gives you when it was due and what class it's for. So depending on some of the refining we might have to do with our teachers to make sure we're not overdoing it on the to-dos. We want to make sure to communicate well, but not send too many to-dos out there for students. It could be that it might take a few days to kind of refine that. But ideally, activity happens for the day. There's an assignment that may come out of that. And then the teacher would put that assignment in a to-do list and a required list to be done within a certain amount of time. And then the student would have a day or 2 to complete that. And that to-do list would be a place where they could go to keep track of what they should be working on. Jarvis, I don't know if you had anything from a principal perspective of how you've discussed that with your teachers just yet. It's still early, only day 2.
Yeah, not specifically that question. I was going to bring up another one, a theme that came up that I might need help from a middle high school perspective.
Okay.
So what has come up was basically, in a nutshell, how does a student access help when they're working on their Florida virtual content independently? At the elementary level, let's say it's reading, you have your reading instruction, and then right after that, the teacher will have an open live Google Meets where kids can access the teacher for help during the independent time. I don't know the answer of how that's working at middle and high. Do you, Susan?
Yeah, it should be pretty similar. So there is a teacher of record that's hosting instruction and then hosting students for questions that they might have. That homepage for that course card that we looked at for the dashboard, that homepage should give you an indication. And if it's not there yet, it will be very soon as teachers refine those pages about what the expectations are of how to get a hold of them. Many of them will have drop-in hours or office hours that kids could come into, but you can always go to that inbox as well. And you could reach out to your teacher and let them know that you're having trouble with module 3.5 and you just need some assistance. And hopefully then they can set up a Google Meet where you guys can hop on together and you could do some screen sharing and the teacher then could help you. So I would say that's pretty similar, whether, especially for the 100% online kids, but right now with everybody being online, similar pattern should be available on that homepage just to kind of get an idea of what is it I should be doing from the to-do list, and then how can I get, when will I see my teacher again, or how can I reach out for some help on that homepage on that off the dashboard. All right. So here's, I bet we'll have a few of these, so I'd love to get them out here because I want to make sure everybody understands that we did have a technical problem yesterday and today. And so again, not anything with your home network or with your device. There's a question here, is there a policy of how or when to inform the teacher that they lost part of the class due to the interrupted connection? So what happens from a teacher's perspective on a district side is they get an email. And that is the way that we are informing teachers of a hiccup. So hopefully over the last few years, as we've been online doing a variety of other things, and people count on the internet quite a bit, but not as much as this fall, teachers are trained to either give the office a call or they check their email. On the other side, we've got our Blackboard communication system that we try to send those messages out pretty quickly once we know that it's a big enough issue that it's worth reporting. And then sometimes there's a little bit of a delay between when the problem happens and when the communication gets out. So usually it should be within, I would say 30 minutes, but in a class period, that can be a very long time. My suggestion for everybody is to give it a go. If you get kicked off, try back again, especially on an iPad or even a Chromebook. Starting from scratch, getting into Canvas and going to your dashboard, going to the homeroom page that you were just in, clicking on the card and then going to the Meet and trying to launch it again. And if it doesn't launch it again, it's likely something bigger like we were having these last couple of days. Again, I believe we've got it identified pretty clearly today and we know what that issue is. But my guess with technology and computers is that we'll run into something like this somewhere in the future, whether it's a power outage or something along those lines. And you can always call the 503-431-4051 number. Those are the folks that probably know first if we're having a problem, and they can answer that question pretty quickly for you. At least you can stop trying things at home versus waiting for the system to be fixed. So hopefully that answers a little bit more about what's happened these first few days of online school 2020-21, and hopefully we don't have a repeat tomorrow. So let's see what else we've got here. Can my child use a regular laptop to access Canvas and do her online school versus the iPad screen? Totally fine if you have another device at home that you would like to use. The kids will use their same login to log into Canvas. One of the things that you'll want to be aware of is that there are a variety of apps that many of our teachers rely on and depend on. Epic might be one of those, but there's also other ones that may not be available on a computer. So I would just have the iPad handy in case you get into a situation where the teacher is leveraging one of those other tools on an iPad that's not available on your home computer. And then when metrics allow and we're allowed to come back into school in hybrid, we're going to ask that you have the child bring in that TTSD device, the iPad, back in with them. So they definitely want to be familiar with that device. So while you might supplement with your home device, it'd be good to make sure they also understand how to use the iPad. Oh, Camo, I believe is the name. How long should I expect my child's help ticket to take if they're in high school? That is a great question. Right now, it will be a little bit longer than anybody would like. The tickets have been coming in daily and we are doing our very best to stay on top of them. Our goal internally is to get some kind of personal response back within 24 hours and to have it fixed within 2 days. Some of the tickets are pretty quick and easy to get to, most of them at this point, because they're questions about how to get in, but some of them are about cameras or iPad keyboards not working, those types of things. But in general, it should take a day to receive some kind of feedback, and then hopefully we have it resolved within 2 days. Let's see. So kicked out of the internet during a class. If they get kicked out of the internet during a class, if they can check to make sure other things are working, that would be a good first step. And then if it doesn't look like there's anything happening wrong with your home network, then again, I would go back to the Canvas dashboard and I would start fresh into that course, to the home screen, to the Google Meet, and then I would try and join again. Let's see. So it looks like a couple questions about the to-do list. We will dig into some of the nuances and some of the settings that might be different. If you are seeing an assignment on the to-do list, but you're not seeing it over on the calendar interface is structured in a way that you can pick and choose which calendars you want to see. So for instance, if I'm in a high school and I've got 4 classes, there should be 5 cards, one personally for myself, the named user, and then there's going to be 1 card or 1 calendar for each of the other classes. It's entirely possible that those calendars get turned off, so you can't see the event. So just make sure there's a color code next to each of the names of the courses off to the right on the calendar. And on an iPad, there's a calendars link up at the top when you're on the calendar view, and then you can make sure that they're all checked so that you can see all the calendars if you choose to see it through the calendar view. Lots of good questions about assignments and where to go to check to see if the work is done. I think one of the follow-ups that we'll do in the upcoming parent evening, the technology night, the family nights, is to do some demonstrations of those. We are only on day 2 of the school year, and so many of the first few days are getting to know you kind of activities with our students and our families, and less about assignments and due dates. So I know some teachers have ventured into that, but again, the to-do list should be in order of the date due, and then the calendar is a way for you to see what date that's due. We're encouraging our teachers to put dates to be due for all their assignments so kids have an idea of when they should have it done by. But that doesn't mean, it'll be up to the teacher, but that doesn't mean it can't be turned in the next day. Chromebook camera stopped working earlier today. You can call the 4051, the 503-431-4051 phone number, and they can do some troubleshooting with you. And likely, if it's not working, they will arrange for a time for you to come in and get that switched out with another device. Students also have, in high school especially, they're more used to this. There's a student ticket system, and students can put in tickets themselves. And so Laura, your daughter or son could put in a ticket straight away, and then the technician at the high school would reach out to him or her and help them. All right. Trying to see if there's some others that kind of have a theme with them. I don't know if our other panelists have seen anything that would stand out. Question from AV, is it possible to email the teacher within Canvas? Absolutely, yes. That inbox tool sends to the teacher's email as well. So they can see it in Canvas, or they'll see it in their inbox in their regular TTSD work email. And it's up to you, your choice, whether you send it from your inbox, from your provider, or if you just use Canvas, it'll still end up in the same place. Looks like we've got a question about, can we change the passwords on our children's account? And they absolutely can. Students can go to the ticket system. Most of our middle and high school kids know how to get to that ticket system. It's and this might be a good thing, Thor, if you wouldn't mind to put into the chat, or one of our panelists, it's ticket.ttsdstudents.org. And students would log in there. And one of the choices after they log in is that they can opt to change their password. So especially as kids get a little bit more savvy and are used to those passwords, or maybe they just want to make it their own, they can do it on the ticket.ttsdstudents.org website. How about some of the answered questions? Is there anything that would be helpful to share for our parents that others might be interested in as we have the last few minutes here? Looks like we've hit a lot of them. A lot of good questions coming in kind of about the next stage, right? About what do I do with an assignment? There's some, so within Canvas, the interface that Canvas has, if you are in a screen that is recommend, or it's asking for the child to do something, half the time it's going to have a button that says submit assignment. And that is your starting point. Sometimes that can be a little confusing because it sounds like you're actually ready to turn your assignment in, but that submit assignment button, if you see that, that's the way to also start your assignment. So an example might be is some of our younger grade levels might eventually have some assignments about them reading the alphabet or saying the alphabet, and they want to see how the kids are doing with their alphabet and their letters. The assignment might be, please record yourself singing the alphabet, saying the alphabet. They would start with submit assignment, and then they would choose a video recording, and then the video recording would come up and they would click OK, and they'd see their face, and there would be a button to push record. They'd say their alphabet, they'd press stop, and then they'd say save, and it would then submit the assignment. So that might be a little bit of a tip to get people started once the assignments do start going out. Google Drive and Google Docs assignments are pretty popular for kids to either get a copy of and continue working on, or a way for them to submit essays or written assignments. At the very beginning of any class card, there's a link to the bottom left that says Google Drive. If you tap on that, even this evening, it'll ask you to authorize Google Drive. And what that does is it makes a handshake between Google and Canvas so that they know who your child is. And again, we've got that partnership and that agreement in place, but that way the kids can access their Google Drive from within Canvas. So that would be a good thing to do at the beginning of school here, just to make sure everything's set up well. Yep, if you forgot your username for parent view, you definitely can call your child's school. If you think the email address that you gave the school is the one that you know, like if you know that's the one you gave them, you can use that email address as well. So if you can't remember the parent view account, you can try using your email address and say you forgot your password. Otherwise, you can call the school. Good question about multiple students, and is there a way to separate them on the dashboard? There's definitely a way to rename the cards, and there may be a way to actually choose to filter it just by one student. I'll look into that. I believe if you look in the menu in the top left corner by account, or maybe even there's we call it the hamburger. So 3 lines. I think I've seen that you can choose one student over another, but I'll look into that. And it's the type of thing that we would put on the familyhelp.ttsdschools.org website. So you could see pictures and step-by-step answers to those types of questions. All right. I'm a little concerned about time. It looks like we've got many of our questions answered. I'm trying to see if there's anything that we didn't quite get answered. Add on, the teachers asked us to collect windows, but I cannot find contact information for that permit. I'm not sure what that question might be. Looks like whoever is a concerned parent, I would love to see what that interface looks like. So if I'd like to look specifically at that account so we can just troubleshoot and make sure the system is working correctly, since it's so brand new. If you wouldn't mind putting your email address in the chat, it'll only go to the panelists, and then I can look up that account for you and I can check to make sure that it's working correctly. So I'm speaking to concerned parents. I wish I could use your name, but hopefully you know who you are. I think we got that one. Yeah.
Could you address the additional usernames and passwords that some of our other apps on our iPads are requesting, or sometimes teachers put links to external websites that are asking for usernames and passwords, and how we're managing those?
I'm going to co-answer that with you because I'm not sure I can answer it down to the teacher level. There are some. By and large, we like to try in every moment we can use the 28 Bernard S everywhere we go. But there are instances where some teachers have created different accounts for their kids. And Sonia, I don't know if you can think of an example where that might be the case.
Perhaps some of the things like we used in the spring, like Epic. There was a Time for Kids question because that was linked out. And so I would just encourage families to contact their student's teacher for that login information, because that was most likely set up through the teacher. There's also some login information through our TTSD libraries that is available for families that we can, your student's teacher can also share that information as well. So I guess that would be my advice, is to go back to them, because it's not, if it's not the TTSD student email and password, then it's something set up through the school or the teacher.
And one of the feedback, some of the feedback that we got from different family members and parents and teachers and students was that there was a lot of different logins this spring. And so one of the reasons that we have moved to K-12 using Canvas is many, and if not most things are contained within that interface or that same account. So we're trying to minimize any additional accounts that your student may have to use to log into an instructional or educational resource. But if you do run into one and your regular account is not working, you're going to want to please reach out to your teacher and find out if there's a different account that the student should be using. I see a couple other good questions I think here. It's so hard to say to wrap it up, but there's two more questions I think that would be good for others. If you get dropped off from the Google Meet these last couple of days and the teacher did not get dropped off, the teacher's recording will continue to save, and that recording will be available if the teacher posts it back into that school, into that classroom. So students who attend that class are able to go in and then see the instruction that the teacher gave during that time. I would say these first few days, again, we're kind of practice, ironing out some of the rough spots. Our goal was to make connections with kids and for kids to connect with other kids and their teachers. So hopefully we've got our technical issues worked out today, and then moving forward, as we get into some solid instructional time online, those instructional videos will be posted in the dashboard. So in that course card that you see when you go to dashboard, and it will be on that homepage, or there'll be a link from that homepage. And we'll continue to work with teachers to make sure that that's really clear where those instructional videos are kept. And then the last piece I wanted just to touch on is middle school. I see from Stacy, she's talking about her 6th grader not being able to see links on the calendar events. And you're absolutely right. There's a little, our first approach was to make a calendar events with links in them that would take them to the meet. And what we've ended up needing to do based on how the system is working is that calendar is used to help our middle school kids identify what the bell schedule is. So 6th, 7th, and 8th graders should use the Canvas calendar to see where they should be when, note what the class is, and after a week or two, they'll know what they have each day. But as we get started, they'll look on Tuesday, they've got morning meeting at 9. They're going to go, oh, I've got morning meeting. They're going to go over to dashboard, find morning meeting, and in the morning meeting homepage will be that Google link. So for middle school, they'll go to the calendar in Canvas, they'll see where they need to go based on the day and the time. Then they'll go to their dashboard, they'll click on the card, and then they'll be into their Google Meet once they find it on that homepage. So that is totally an issue for all. It has nothing to do with individual students. It's just something that happened with some of the middle school setup.